traditional fermentation around the world. I think fermentation is one of those kitchen miracles that every culture stumbled into and then refused to let go of. It is messy and alive and deeply human. Our ancestors figured out that if you leave food alone long enough with the right microbes, you get something tangier and safer and way more interesting than what you started with. And honestly, I love how every corner of the world has its own version of that happy accident. Korea taught the world that cabbage can have a personality. Walk into a Korean home, and you will probably find a fridge dedicated to kimchi and nothing else. That is not an exaggeration. Korean families make huge batches every fall during Kimjong because winter was brutal and fresh vegetables were not an option. The magic starts with napa cabbage salted until it goes limp and then rubbed with a fiery red paste of gochugaru, garlic, ginger, and fish sauce. After a few days tucked in clay jars, the whole thing wakes up. It bubbles and sours and turns into this crunchy, spicy, sour punch that makes plain rice feel like a feast. I personally cannot eat a Korean barbecue meal without it because the brightness cuts right through the fat and smoke. What I find beautiful is how every family swears their mom's recipe is the real one, and they are all right. Japan treats soybeans like treasure. If you have ever tried natto, you know it is not shy. Those sticky, stringy, fermented soybeans smell strong and taste even stronger. The first time I tried it, I thought someone was playing a prank on me. But Japanese people grow up with it over rice for breakfast, and they love the earthy, nutty funk and the fact that it is packed with probiotics. Then there is miso, which is basically the opposite vibe. Miso is calm and deep and savory. It starts with koji mold spread over rice or barley, then mixed with soybeans and salt and left to age in cedar barrels. Some miso sits for a few months and tastes light and sweet. Some sits for years and turns almost black and tastes like pure umami. I keep white miso in my fridge for quick soups and dressings because a spoonful makes everything taste like it was cooked for hours. Germany and Eastern Europe keep it crisp and sour. Head to Germany and you will run into sauerkraut at every sausage stand. It is just cabbage and salt and thyme, yet it completely transforms. The cabbage softens but keeps a bite, and the flavor goes from watery to bright and lemony. People used to make it in massive stoneware crocks to survive winter, and now it shows up on hot dogs at baseball games. Go a bit east to Russia or Poland, and you will find kvass, which I think is the most underrated fermented drink. It is made from stale rye bread, soaked in water with a little sugar, and it ferments into this lightly fizzy sour drink that tastes like liquid toast. Kids drink it in the summer because it is barely alcoholic and insanely refreshing. I tried making it once and my kitchen smelled like a bakery for a week, which I considered a win. Mexico knows how to ferment a pineapple. Tepache is the drink I make when I have a pineapple I do not want to waste. You take the rinds and core that you would normally toss and throw them in a jar with piloncillo, which is raw brown sugar, and some cinnamon sticks. Cover it with water and let it sit on the counter. 2 or 3 days later, you have a golden bubbly drink that tastes like sweet cider with a tropical edge. Street vendors in Mexico sell it over ice with a squeeze of lime, and it is the best thing on a hot day. The cool part is that Tepache is low effort and zero waste. It feels like the kind of recipe a grandma would teach you while telling you not to be wasteful and to trust your nose. Ethiopia builds meals on a fermented pancake. In Ethiopia, the staple is injera, and it is nothing like a regular pancake. The batter is made from teff flour, which is a tiny ancient grain. You mix it with water and let it ferment for a few days until it smells pleasantly sour. Then you pour it on a huge clay griddle, and it cooks into a spongy, tangy flatbread full of little holes. Those holes are not an accident. They are perfect for soaking up stews like dorawat or misirwat. Eating a meal with injera is a hands-on experience because the bread is your plate and your utensil. I love how the sourness of the injera balances the rich, spicy stews. It is proof that fermentation is not just a side dish. Sometimes it is the foundation of the whole cuisine. Scandinavia takes fermentation to the extreme. If you want to test how much you love fermented food, try Swedish Surströmming. It is Baltic herring that gets fermented for months until the can bulges from the pressure. When you open it, the smell is legendary. People open it outdoors and often underwater to contain the aroma. The flavor is intensely salty and sharp, and the texture is soft. Swedes eat it on thin bread with potatoes and onions, and they swear it is delicious once you get past the smell. I respect it deeply, even if I am not brave enough to keep a can in my apartment. It shows how fermentation was about survival first and flavor second. When winters are long and fish is all you have, you learn to love what keeps you alive. Why these traditions still matter today. I keep coming back to fermentation because it connects us to a time before fridges and preservatives. Every jar of bubbling vegetables or crock of sour grain is a little act of trust. You are letting bacteria and yeast do the cooking for you. And the results are not just tasty. They are good for your gut, and they reduce food waste, and they carry stories. A Korean kid learning to pack kimchi from their grandma, or an Ethiopian daughter watching the injera batter bubble, is learning more than a recipe. They are learning patience and culture, and that good things take time. If you are new to this world, start small. Make sauerkraut with just cabbage and salt. Try tepache with your next pineapple. Buy a tub of good miso and stir it into butter for popcorn. You do not need fancy equipment or a science degree. You just need to get comfortable with the idea that a little funk can be a very good thing. And once you taste something you fermented yourself, you will understand why people around the world have been doing this for thousands of years. It is not just food. It is heritage in a jar.